543. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, February the 1st, 2024. 2025, February 1st, 2025. I'll get used to the year eventually. And I'm reporting live from my house. Good to see each and every one of you on board this morning. I see Ian Mascal. I see Sam K from the UK. Good to see you, Sam. I hadn't seen you in a couple weeks. Glad to know that you're still around. And then, hey, look, Tom Graber has not only arrived, he dropped a $5 super chat. Tom is a big time Dugroz diehard. You can tell by that funny little symbol to the right of his name. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your support and patronage. Any super chats will go 80% towards channel growth, 20% towards my family and general support. I also see Luke from Luke's Points and Miles. How you doing, Uncle Luke? Thomas Happyuk, a big-time diehard, is on board. Good morning. Hopefully you manage a return from Europe. I'll get back somehow. And I forgot to mention that Ian is also a Dugroz diehard. Thanks for your support, as is Dimitri. Thank you for joining in, Dimitri. John R. is here, a big-time diehard. Sam says, mini image stream today. If something's displaying wrong, please let me know. I would appreciate that. And another diehard is Xavier ID. How you doing, Xavier? Hanging out over there in Omaha. Drops a boom $9.99 super chat. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you for your support and patronage, Xavier. I really, really appreciate it. And then Filmo's here. Good morning. All checking in from the line for Tron at the Magic Kingdom. Filmo's got a little Disney action going on down there in Central Florida. John R., consistent as always, brings in the $2 super chat. Boom. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, John. And we have Kevin Hawthorne reporting in from Lakeland, Florida, as I see Frugal Dad Finance. Glad to see each and every one of you on board this morning. There's Cesar Joel, mi hermano, and Juan Garcia, a diehard. Good morning to all of you. Hey, if you've been sick for like 2 weeks, raise your hand. Yep, I have been sick for like 2 weeks. So insert running joke here about me coughing on camera and those kind of things. I have taken my orange cough suppressant pill. I've got my effervescent cold relief going. I've got my regular water. Boy, I don't know about you guys, but here where I live in central Iowa, everyone is sick. Like everybody. Like half of my coworkers have missed time being sick, like every kid in every school. In fact, a couple of the elementary schools in our area, apparently there's like a threshold rule where like if more than a certain percentage of kids are out, they literally just cancel school for the day. And a couple of them went over that. I think it's like 35% of the kids were out. So holy cow, I think it's a flu strain like influenza A or influenza B or something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure what it is. John says cold and flu are going around here in Kansas City too. Brian Jackson's on board, says 20% is the threshold. Brian lives in this area. He would know. And Frugal Dad says, I rarely get sick. My secret is bourbon, cigars, and coffee. Thank me later. Next time I go to my doctor, I'll mention that combination and see what she says. Well, we usually start with a round of Dugroz data points, so I'll go ahead and do that. If you haven't done so yet, if you're on board, please click the thumbs up button. That drives more people in to watch. I would sure appreciate it. So I got to click the button to do a share the screen presentation. And here we go. I am now presenting the screen. It's official. I'm a member of the Affinity Federal Credit Union. So what is the Affinity Federal Credit Union? Well, it's a credit union, and I think it's in, I don't know, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, one of those East Coast states. And of course, with credit unions, you always have to have a reason to join. And this one was pretty easy for me because my employer, the company I work for, was actually on the list of companies that, like, if you live in the area, which I don't, or work for one of these companies, you can be a member. But you can also join with like a $5 or $10 or $15 donation to some random charity. So it's functionally a nationwide. I'm going for a bank account bonus here, and this one has been around for a while. Actually, this particular offer has been going since I don't remember when this was posted, but this is an old Doctor of Credit article. I think it's from 2022, and it hasn't really changed. It's pretty easy. You get $100 when you open a new cashback debit account and have a direct deposit of $100 or more within 60 days. There's not a lot to do. Just open the account, have a direct deposit of $100 or more. I think you have to choose electronic statements, keep it around 3 or 4 months, and that's it. So that's an easy $100. I haven't done it yet, but after this particular live stream closes, I'll put a link down below in a pinned comment. If you want to use this same offer and get an easy $100, you too can do that. I'll benefit, you'll benefit. If you would rather just wait until I've gotten my data point of my successful $100, that's fine. I'll do it again after that point as well. So that is Dugroz data point number 1. Let's see. Sam says there's a cold or flu prevention technique of wearing a snorkel. I'll pass on that one. Manuel Jimenez is here. Great to see you. Filmo's got to head out because he's got to do the Disney stuff, and I totally get that. Got to redeem your time. Is summer in Puerto Rico? Sam says Affinity is a water supply company in the United Kingdom. Luke says he's a member of Affinity as well. They have good credit cards. Oh, okay. Any particular one you recommend, Luke? Matt Clausen, also diehard, has arrived. Howdy, glad to see you here. And David Williams says Chartway has a new 3% debit card with an easy $300 bonus. $10 cap on 3% per month. Well, I like the $300 bonus part, so maybe I'll have to look into that. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate that. Next Dugroz data point. This is kind of just a fun one here. So my family's planning on going to the United Kingdom this summer. And sometimes when I think about like how far I'll have to drive, I like to think about other types of geography. The Isle of Britannia is basically the same size as Iowa and Minnesota put together. This is a website that's like actual size or something like that. So I'm like, well, if I need to drive from Manchester down to London to catch the Eurostar train, how far is that? It'd kind of like be driving from, like Austin, Minnesota down to Ottumwa, Iowa, or something like that. I can kind of imagine it in my head. And obviously different roads, different traffic systems, those kind of things. But we're going to be bouncing back and forth between like Scotland, Manchester, over here in Wales. We're not planning to spend any time in the southern part of England, but might have to go through there just for, to get to the places we want to go. So that was just sort of interesting. And Matt Clausen and I both thought that if you took Northern Ireland and kind of squished it in here or here, take the Hebrides, squish them in here, Orkney, squish it in here, you could easily fold it up and fit the entirety of the United Kingdom inside of Iowa plus Minnesota combined. That's pretty random. Let's see. David was talking about Chartway and said joined yesterday. Luke said, and I think we're coming back to Affinity here, I think they have a 5% cash back on Amazon, so it's a way to get that 5% without being a Prime member. Interesting. Matt says Affinity has their catch-all, which is 2.5% up to 10K spend as long as you make a direct deposit and something else. Luke says, as far as driving, don't compare our state too much. Most of Europe won't be 65-mile-an-hour freeways. A lot of it will be 2-lane, 35-mile-an-hour stuff. It sucks. That's a good point. As I said, you can't compare interstate to side road. Definitely when we were in Wales last time, we had our share of the 1-lane roads where like 2 cars meet and one of us has to back up. But hey, you get used to it. Ian says, my money would be on Iowa and Minnesota if they had a battle with the United Kingdom. Luke said, I think that's Alliant, referencing the battle of the credit union. Whoops. Okay. We've got 40 people on board. Thank you so much. Go ahead and click the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. Next, Dugroz data point. There's not a lot of data points this morning. It's a pretty slow morning. So we're going to get into the theme of the day pretty fast here. The theme of the day today is cheap point travels. Like, what do you do if you want to get into points, but you're unable to accrue lots of points? What are some shortcuts you can take based on regular spend alone? Or I might call it poor boy travel or something like that. This one is just for fun. I was at the hospital taking my dad to a routine doctor's appointment, and I saw a bumper sticker that said, "Surviving purely out of spite." And I thought that was pretty interesting. We get pretty upset with the medical system and some of its failures and frustration. So, yeah, I'm going to live just out of spite here. All right, next data point. So, what's today's date? Today is February 1st. What happens on the first day of months in the world of points and miles? Well, you get your new transfer bonuses out. So, I thought, let's go out there and look for transfer bonuses from Chase, Citi, Capital One, hypothetically Wells Fargo, Amex, and see what we can see. So I went out and did some looking, and you know what I found? Nothing. I found nothing. Seriously, I checked Amex, I checked Citi, I checked Chase, I looked at Doctor of Credit, I looked at Frequent Miler. I'm like, come on the first day of every single month, there's got to be transfer bonuses. None. The only one I wasn't able to personally verify was Capital One. So if you have a Capital One card that has transfer partners, you want to go out to your app and try looking while we're on the live stream and verify along with me that there are no transfer bonuses, at least so far, feel free to do so. So I was just kind of disappointed with that. Like, not a single transfer bonus. And that maybe will feed into our theme of the day a little bit, that some people think banks are starting to anticipate a slowdown or starting to pull back. Whether that's true, I don't know. Pure speculation. Matt Clausen says, Austin, Minnesota, recent trip to the Spam Museum. No, I just am good enough with geography to know what a moderate-sized town in south central Minnesota is. Ian says, you'd think the Spam Museum would be in Hawaii. I wonder why that is. Is that really popular in Hawaii? Spam is not only has their museum in Austin, Minnesota, it's also manufactured there, at least as of 10 years ago it was. Matt Clausen says it still is. And Sam says, I'm cooking cream of chicken soup while watching this cool stream. Sorry if I make anyone hungry. It's 9:45 in the morning here in Iowa, so I'm doing fine in terms of hungry. Makes sense. Those pesky Hawaiians just love their Spam. I think I have heard stereotypes about Hawaiians loving Spam. Why is that? Why is Spam uniquely popular in Hawaii? Does anybody know? Matt Clausen says the CSR DoorDash credits have been updated and now can be combined with restaurant and store offers. Oh, so like, can you take your $5 of restaurant credit and your $10 of non-store credit and combine them into one $15 order? Give me a little more deets on that, Matt. First of the month fell on a weekend. Let's see. Ian wants to know if Sam is a smooth, fully pureed cream of chicken type person or likes chunks and shredded chicken with texture. That's random, but that's okay. And then I also had a data point here that I think I forgot to load into the correct folder. So if you'll bear with me just a second. There it is, right there. Two of them, actually. Bing, bong, bang. So this one's probably known for people that are interested in, but probably has a very narrow appeal. The Built Rent Day transfer bonus today is for Avianca Life Miles, up to 100% bonus, depending on your status level. So if that applies to you, you know who you are. Personally, there's nothing going on with Avianca that is like a trip that I want to take, and I don't feel comfortable enough to do a speculative transfer to them. So this doesn't hold a lot of meaning for me, but there it is. The other screenshot I was going to mention is my wife, when she logged into, well, I logged in for her, to Amex this morning, got a targeted offer for the Blue Business Cash Card. I haven't actually tried this yet, but I'm thinking this might be a false flag because just within the last week, I tried to have her apply for this card and got the dreaded pop-up jail. So my wife and I are both in like big time hard pop-up jail with Amex right now. So I'll let you know if that changes. Maybe that'll pan out, but kind of doubt it. That's different than the Blue Business Plus, which she already has, which earns 2 membership reward points per dollar. This is the cash version that earns 2% cash back per dollar. Got one more data point after this, and I'll come back to that in a little bit. But let me catch up on some comments here. Ian, regarding spam in Hawaii, I assume its popularity is due to the fact that it lasts a really long time and takes a long time for things to get to Hawaii. That makes sense because it's far away. You have to wait for things to be imported, and it's never going to go bad, or it takes a really long time to go bad. David Williams says, the Discover 1% debit card worked for my taxes. Only a $2.15 fee. Rewards posted today. Hey, if you got to pay taxes, and you're not working on a sign-up bonus, that sounds like a good way to do it. This is regarding the DoorDash credits on the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Your $5 restaurant credit can be combined with a restaurant's 20% off $40 plus order, and likewise $10 credits with, let's say, Hy-Vee is offering 15% off $40 and so on. Oh, okay. I mean, that's still cool, but not as cool as I thought you could combine them with each other, the 5 and the 15. But yeah, I do frequently see targeted things like a local restaurant will say, spend at least $30, get 20% off, or a free item or something like that. Thomas did the work I was unable to do. Thank you, sir. You're doing yeoman's work. Can confirm no transfer bonuses at Capital One this morning. Sam likes a dash of cracked black pepper with his soup. Ian says, did you click offer terms on that offer on the pop-up? I did not, because I was rushing to get things done before my live started. That would tell you if you're going to get pop-up jail or not. I'll look into that more after our live stream today. All right, got to blow my nose here. I apologize. One moment. Hork. All right. One more Dugroz data point, and then we can get right into the main event here. So did any of you hear that? I think a motorcycle just drove by my house at 157 miles per hour. Where were we? Okay. This is a chat with an Amex representative. Something that I was wanting to know is I saw a blog that said, this is regarding the airline incidental credit with Amex and the business platinum card. So you have to choose a preferred airline, and that applies to 2 different things. It applies to your airline incidental credit, and then it also applies to the 35% point rebate when booking an airline through their portal. And I won't go into the details of what all the important parts of that are. Most of you know, but I will mention that I had this chat because the blog I saw said you have to make your airline selection by the end of January after your first year. Otherwise, it automatically locks in as the same airline you had the previous year, and you can't change it. And I had read some things that said you can change once per year starting in January, and some things that says you can change once per year only during the month of January. So I got onto the Amex chat and I asked them, do I have to make the change before the end of January? And the representative said, you need to choose an airline of your selection before you make a transaction with that specific airline to be eligible for credit. I said, and I get 1 change per year, correct? And they said, that's correct. So let's just say I don't make any related transactions for airlines until June. Could I, if I chose, wait until June 1st, choose Delta, I'm on United right now, and then use it after that? Yes, you can certainly do that. Okay. So hopefully this person is accurate. If any of you have done this, like let's say you had United for your airline in 2024, you don't have any transactions until June, and in June you change from United to Delta and then make a Delta transaction for that airline incidental credit. Is that okay? According to this Amex representative, yes, that's okay. So I have a high level of confidence, but not indefinite confidence with that. 50 people are on board. Please click the thumbs up button if you've not done so. We're driving a good number of people in here. All right, so let's talk about the theme of the day today. And the theme of the day today goes back to a chat that I had with a few other people on Discord yesterday. And I'm going to call today's theme Low Points, Cool Vacations, also known as the Poor Points Boy. So I'm just noticing Luke said that person is incorrect. You have to pick in January. From experience, they will change it later as a courtesy, but the rule is clear and the person is incorrect. Interesting. So that'll totally screw up my plan if I end up using something other than United. For the record, I haven't really decided what I'm going to do yet. I just wanted to delay the decision. Where were we? Okay, low points, cool vacations, the poor points boy. So, how did I get on the topic of being a poor points boy or not having access to as many points as I would like to have? Well, it came from a Discord chat that I saw on the Stack Your Points Discord yesterday, and it wasn't a whole lot of people, just me and 3 or 4 people other kind of chatting about that. And it started off with this screen grab posted by Dr. Crane, who said this suggests the shutdown theory / in litigation with Chase. Now, it's hard to see, but what he's showing here is a screenshot of an Ask Sebi video. And in the comment section, somebody says, so no more Chase cards from now on. And Sebi says, I can't say much about it right now. So we're like, well, crap. We're all wondering, like, is this a situation where, they're really cracking down on the ink train? Chase is cracking down on content creators who promote the ink train, doing broad-based shutdowns, etc. I don't like this trend. So eventually in the conversation, I asked, is Chase still worth it if you can't gamify it at all? Like no new subs, no referrals, no gift card buying, just plain old everyday spend and the built-in benefits. I also said, what's the excitement there? 5x on non-gift card office supply, because if I'm not gamifying, I'm just buying office supplies. Well, I'm not buying many office supplies. 1.5x on everything else. Sorry, Kevin Hart, that's kind of lame. 3x on dining, get in line. The ability to get subs and other hacks is so essential for the average Joe in this game. Otherwise, I'm just a normie who gets 2 to 4% cash back on everything. It will take forever to build up a meaningful stash this way. Dr. Crane said similar argument could be made for the other issuers, and I agree with that 100%. The conversation went back and forth a little bit, and then a brilliant mind, Spathco, chimed in. This is a thing I think about a ton. Points are so awesome when you can amass a pile of them in a short period of time. Once you shift to trying to earn points 1.5x at a time, it just becomes a pretty crappy vacation layaway program. And AP said, I think it was our friend Jim who said it, but I think he's right. Now, I'm assuming he's referring to Jim from Hawaii, a gentleman that I met at the Creator Meetup, that eventually subs get increasingly harder to get as banks get more and better data to protect themselves. And the best way to rack up points is essentially the Lonnie method of stacking portals, etc. And a little later, I said, the Lonnie method of stacking and portals and those kind of things doesn't really work for me because I'm just an office worker in Iowa. I don't travel. I don't have paid travel. RJ, also from the podcast, later chimes in and says, points are, in my opinion, a manage your expectation game and why so few people want to do that. And then Spathco says, I think subs establish an unrealistic expectation because with a pile of super cheap points, you can do incredibly epic things. Spending $4,000 to get 75,000 Capital One miles is pretty easy. But then you realize it's going to take 37,500 in spending outside the portal to get the next 75,000 points. Even if you're doing all portal hotel stays at 10x, it's still $7,500 in spending, or almost double what your initial outlay was. And again, I'm not doing paid travel. So I'm going to take a long time to get there. RJ says subs are great, but if your diet is nothing but subs, you're likely going to, not for sure, not live a very long time. Banks figure it out, points change, things happen. Yes, it sucks having to build up points the old-fashioned way, but so does working out and eating well. And I think AP summed out how I feel exactly. This is very disappointed. I wanted sunshine and rainbows all day long. A little further down the road, AP says, this is a tough one for folks to swallow because you hit that high of a sub. Everyone is saying earn and burn. And if you're middle class, I'm definitely middle class, it's nice to get a taste of the finer things. This is what drives people to get 7 inks. They could no way do a trip to a Park Hyatt in cash, maybe eccentric, but if Chase and others are giving it out like candy, then sure, the return on investment is through the roof. And Park Hyatt now becomes the expectation. I think with the ink train and the economy pulling back, we will have lots of folks who have been living large off the easy points, including me, have to figure out travel, and they won't like the new reality that will compel them back to the centric. And then, oops, I didn't actually show that comment. I'm sorry. You'll have to take my word for it. And I said, partially kidding, but with 100% seriousness, before points and miles, I set aside $2,000 per year for travel for a family of 4. That's $500 each. If I go back to that being the just pay cash standard, our travel is going to look quite a bit different, even with that $2,000 budget plus optimal earnings. And I said, I'm like the spoiled rich kid who can't go back to living like normal people, the points and miles equivalent. Okay, so where are we going with this? Low points, cool vacations. I'm not saying this is the case, and I'm not saying it's time to panic, like that episode of Simpsons. Professor, without knowing precisely what the problem is, would you say it's time to panic? Yes, I would, Kent. It's not time to panic, but it's time to start thinking of other things. Now, in my own personal experience, I've had a harder time getting subs lately. I'm getting to the point where some issuers are starting to deny me based on velocity, number of open trade lines, those kinds of things. So, do we need to start thinking of plan B? We need to start thinking of, if we can't earn a bunch of subs, what are we going to do? So that's the theme of this conversation today. All right. Ian said, I submitted a power of attorney to Capital One, Citi, Amex, and Bank of America. All of them, besides Cap One, required me to mail the POA to them via snail mail. Only Cap One allowed fax and email. Random data point. That's a load of crap, Ian. Thank you for sharing. Tom Graber said, and this is related to switching your preferred airline. And Luke, they'll change the airline for you anytime. I do it all the time. They're doing it as a courtesy, not a rule. Tom says, I use the United Airlines Travel Bank for credits, and I change as needed to utilize the 35% rule. Tom also says, I use United for Tampa Bay credit and then change as needed for the 35% rebate. That's probably Travel Bank, not Tampa Bay. And says, but if they'll do it as a courtesy, can we say that you cannot change it afterwards? I'm just saying that, okay, it'll get abused, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's all good information, guys, but I'm going to move along because I'm on the theme of the day here, but we can always go back and read those later. Ian says, portals are great, but a lot of work. Amazon is so much easier. I just stick to Rakuten and take what it gives. I average about $40K per year, which I find to be amazing. Whose Discord are you showing? This is the Stack Your Points Discord, set up by Matt Clausen as the head administrator. Tom Graber says, true, that could be applied to anything in the game. Ian says, I went to a Park Hyatt that I hated last week. It was old and stuffy, the Park Hyatt in Saigon. All right, let's keep moving along. Don't forget to click thumbs up, and it's not too late to drop a super chat if you like this kind of content. All right, so now that we've gotten the philosophical out of the way, let's talk about what we're going to do. So let's take a hypothetical situation here. We've got some rules here. So what are we going to do when the ink train ends? What are we going to do when the Amex train ends? When Easy Points from Capital One ends? I would say Citi, but I don't think Citi's ever been easy. It's difficult to accrue lots of points in a short period of time with Citi. So let's create a hypothetical scenario. Here's the rules. Let's say you have $50,000 of spend that you can run through credit cards every year. So this is not a video for your big time business owner. So if you're a small business owner and you're like, I run $500,000 of spend through credit cards without any subs per year. Well, I'm jealous of you. That's awesome. And I need to figure out a business I can start, maybe somehow shipping spam to Hawaii or something. Anyway, But we're going to assume you're just a normal blue collar, a normal white collar office worker with a W-2 job. And if you really buckle down, not counting your mortgage, not counting things you pay with plastique, those kind of things. We're just talking groceries, gas, dining, pharmacy, your kids' sports, those kind of things. You can run $50,000 through a credit card every year. Let's say that they crack down on manufactured spending. So no manufactured spending, no sign-up bonuses, no buying gift cards and reselling them. We're just talking pure natural spend. Now you can tweak your categories within reason. So let's say I say $10,000 of gas station spending. It's okay to say I'm going to go to a gas station and buy an Amazon gift card and then use it on Amazon. So we can tweak a little, like raise up our grocery spend, raise up our gas spend. I'm not going to say you're going to spend all $50,000 at a gas station, but we can tweak a little bit to make this happen. Hey, 59 people on board. That's awesome. Let's see if we can get up over 60. Keep clicking thumbs up. And then you get $2,000 a year in family budget cash. This harkens back to the days before I was into points and miles. I literally budgeted $2,000 a year for family travel. And with a family of 4, that's $500 per people. Well, if you're flying business class to Europe, that's not going to get you very far. Actually, it's not going to get you there, period. So you're going to have to figure out some sort of travel that you can do within these rules of what the credit card apocalypse is going to look like in a couple of years. Matt clarifies, I'm just a moderator, stack your points. Most of the admin is RJ. Thank you for giving credit where credit is due. Hat tip to RJ. Next slide, please. All right. So I would like to say I came up with a truckload of ideas for poor boy point vacations. Unfortunately, I didn't get to work on this till about 6 o'clock last night. And with my sickness, I just get so tired come about 8 p.m. So I only got 2 vacation ideas. You guys can help me out. But I was thorough with my 2 vacation ideas for a poor boy points vacation. Idea number 1 is drive to the great outdoors. So look at these happy people. They're out in nature. They're walking around. They're camping and looking at trees and waterfalls. That's free. It doesn't cost you anything at all to do the activity. So what would the consideration be here? So we're thinking like stay close enough to drive equal to or less than 1 day. So like if you live in Iowa, you could drive to Missouri or Nebraska or South Dakota or Wisconsin. If you live in Texas, you could drive to Oklahoma or Arkansas. If you live in California, you can drive to Utah or Nevada. If you live in New York City, you can drive to upstate New York or Vermont or something like that. If you live in Florida, drive to Stone Mountain, Georgia, something along those lines. Hey, we are over 61 people. Thank you to everyone who's clicked thumbs up. And if you haven't, keep it going. So we're going to drive within a day. Now, I live in Des Moines, Iowa, so I'm going to say let's head for Wisconsin. And we're heading for Lake du Flam. We're heading for Lac du Flambeau, eh? Yeah, right up here in the North Woods, almost to the UP, eh? So we're going right here. And here's what I found. I found the Amber Lake Retreat in Lac du Flambeau, Wisconsin. This is a cabin that you can get through Vacasa. You'll see there's still some snow on the ground there. What is Vacasa? Well, any one of you who have been doing this for a little while probably know this, but there is a trick that you can do through Wyndham where you can use Wyndham to book Vacasa. Vacasa is a lot like Vrbo or Airbnb. These are vacation rentals. So here we've got the actual listing of this particular one. And you'll see I typed in second week of September for guests, $1,621.43. And the way you book these is by using Wyndham points at a rate of 15,000 points per bedroom per night, if it averages out to less than $250 per night. So I'm going to grab my calculator, $1,621 divided by 6 nights. And we've got, I think that's a full 7 nights. I think I misspoke there. We did clear that threshold, $231 per night. So, yeah. So that checks out okay. You want to see some pictures of this to see if you can get a pretty decent vacation? There's the cabin. That looks nice. You're right out there on a lake. What is that red thing? That's probably a power line. Don't run into me thing. I hope you like wood. Hope you like golden polished cabin type wood. Looks like this would be fun in the winter. Now, I did have to make a compromise here. You notice I'm going in September. In summer, it's a little more expensive and goes over that $250 per bedroom per night threshold. You can still book it, but the price doubles if you do. In the middle of winter, it also does because people like doing snowmobiling and that kind of stuff. So if you can go off season, like September, maybe first half of October, or maybe like late April going into May, something like that, you can find an affordable price. If you want to do poor boy vacation, sometimes you have to do a compromise. And one of those compromises is going at a less than ideal time of year. Now, this is listed as a one bedroom, so it's only that entry level 15,000 points per night. But it does have a loft with some beds that don't count as a bedroom. That's a trick you can always go for. There's the one bedroom. And that's a closet. That's a bathroom. There it is. So here's the loft where you've got two bunk beds and a day bed all by itself. So definitely lodging worthy of consideration for a family of four. May we have the next slide, please? So this Vacasa cabin, September 7th through 12th, I said 6 nights, and then I did my math based on 7. I'm not sure which it is. Maybe I listed the date wrong in the first screen, but take my word for it. I did go back and double check and make sure it was under the correct amount of points and stuff, or I was off by a week, but there are weeks where you can get it for that 15,000 points. September 7th through 12th, that's 6 nights, and it comes to 13,500 Wyndham points per night. Now, wait a second, Doug. I thought you said it was 15,000. Aha, yes. But if you have any of the Wyndham credit cards, you get a 10% discount on these bookings. So 15,000 minus 10%, 13,500. So if you do the math, you would need 81,000 points to book this. How are we going to earn that? Well, the Wyndham Earner business card gets 8 points per dollar on gas. So you would have to spend $10,125 on gas. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, oh, Doug, nobody spends $10,000 on gas unless you're a truck driver or something like that. Well, there's a couple factors that come into play. If you live like, I don't know, in the outskirts of St. Louis and you work downtown and you have to drive 30 miles one way to get to the office every day, 5 days a week, and your spouse or significant other does the exact same thing, you might be closer to that $10,000 than you think. But also, even though you can't do manufactured spending, remember in our scenario, you're allowed to do creative spending. So as an example, here in the Midwest, the biggest chain of grocery stores is Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee owns their own gas stations called Fast and Fresh. Usually, not always, they're right out in front of the Hy-Vee. And I know from experience with Barclays, it codes as gas. And they sell Hy-Vee gift cards. So let's say you want to do your grocery shopping at Hy-Vee, just swing by the gas station, buy a $300 Hy-Vee gift card, drive 100 yards to the other parking lot, go inside, do your grocery shopping. So maybe your gas doesn't come to $10,000 a year, but if your gas plus grocery combined comes to $10,000 a year, now you've met that threshold. And with a family of 4, I can say with absolute certainty spending $10,000 a year on gas plus groceries is very realistic and attainable. Remember, we're running a maximum of $50,000 a year through credit cards, so we've only used about 1/5 of that so far. So let's think about an efficiency here. Let's think about the efficiency of Wyndham versus cash, because you might think, well, Doug, you could also just get any Vrbo or any Airbnb and book it using cash. Good question. How much cash would we need in this scenario? So I think this is where maybe I think I plugged in the wrong dates earlier, because over here it says it would cost $1,600 for those 6 days. And here it says it would cost $1,300. So I think I had the wrong weeks in my earlier graphic. It was only $1,300, which is definitely under that threshold of $250 per night. $1,350 divided by 6 is like $225-ish. So we're good. We're good. If you're doing cash back instead, let's say you get the ideal. You have a credit card from some Affinity Credit Union or Alliant or whatever it is that gets you 5% cash back on all gas spend. I don't think there is one that's uncapped, but let's just say there is. At 5% earnings, to have enough money to book it, you would have to spend $27,380. So $27,380 times 5% gets you the necessary cash back. If it was a credit card that only gets you 4% back on gas, like I think there's a PNC credit card that gets 4% back on gas. It's only open to residents of certain states. Now we're talking $34,225. What if you had like the Wells Fargo Autograph card or the Blue Business, not Blue Business Plus, Blue Cash Preferred or Blue Cash Everyday from Amex, or one of the many cards, your City Premier, that gets you 3% cash back on gas? At 3%, you've got to spend $45,000 at a gas station to have the required $1,300. So only needing to spend $10,125 on your Wyndham credit card is much, much more efficient than a cash back strategy. So if we're not going to be able to do subs and we're going to have to rely on everyday spend, we want to make sure that everyday spend is as reliable as possible. Sam reminds everyone to click thumbs up. I agree. Vincent Pascal says, my cheap points vacation was visiting Chicago for the first time and spending 2 days there. I stayed at the Hyatt place just off the lake. Vincent, did we do some sort of mind meld here? You'll see why I'm thinking that when we get to our next example. Xavier says, oh yeah. I'm not sure what the oh yeah is in regard to. Hey, Tom DeCase has arrived. Happy to see you, Tom. He is a big-time diehard and says, an Affinity Credit Union data point. They pay the bonus the same day as the direct deposit post. I ended up keeping it opened and opened additional cashback checking accounts, usually max out the 1% cashback paying Amex. So like if you open one checking account, get the $100 bonus, can you then open another checking account, get the $100 bonus? Is that what you're telling us? Because that's pretty cool. I also forgot to mention one icing on the cake thing with that Affinity Credit Union card is they will let you open the account with up to $1,000 of credit card funding. So we're working on a sign-up bonus right now for my wife's CFU, Chase Freedom Unlimited. So easy $1,000 towards that sign-up bonus. Xavier, I'm really curious what the oh yeah was in regard to. Excuse me. Let me keep going with my graphics here. All right, now let's say you want to rent a car. Maybe you're a family that lives in a metro area and you don't own a car, or maybe you have a car, but you just don't want to put the wear and tear on it. Maybe you don't want to risk it getting in a car wreck and having to deal with all that, and you've got either insurance yourself or you've got collision damage waiver on your card or something like that. I actually think renting a car is kind of underrated. There's also a hack with a family of renting a car in that with renting a car and driving, you're only paying for one rental, even if 4 people are going. Whereas with flying, you have to pay per seat. So you do get an economy of scale with a family and going in a vehicle. I jokingly said, but not so jokingly, when we went to Washington, D.C. last summer, I think we hit the sweet spot for Uber because we can get just like a regular old Uber, like a sedan, and sit 3 across the back and then one of us up front. And you've got 4 people in one Uber without having to upgrade to the XL or the minivan or something like that. So there is an efficiency there with renting cars, not as convenient as flying. And obviously, if you're going very far away, you have to fly. But this is another way you can make a compromise if you're doing poor boy points and rent a car instead of flying. So I went out and looked for the exact date starting here in Des Moines, Iowa. Here's a $559. Here's a $556. Kind of averaged out to about $580. Some of these were cheaper if you got a really little car. Some of them were more expensive if you got a big minivan or a luxurious car. $580 was kind of the average. So if you did 6 days with a rental car, this is how that would come out. You've got an average cost of $580. for the entire week, not per day. One way you could get there is you could use the Aeroplan card at 1.625 cents per point, and you would need to use 35,700 Chase Ultimate Rewards to do that. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time going into detail on this because most of you already know this, but I am a huge proponent of the Chase Aeroplan card. It lets you pay yourself back using Aeroplan points, which can always be transferred from Chase to Aeroplan at a rate of 1.25 cents per point. There's a built-in transfer bonus of 10% if you own the card and transfer in increments of 50,000 or more. And for the last 3 years, twice a year, there has been a 20% transfer bonus. So I'm not going to do the math today, but if you take my word for it, if you take the 20% transfer bonus, factor in the 10%, factor in the 1.25, that comes out to 1.625. You have to plan ahead when there's a transfer bonus and do it in increments of at least 50,000 points. But if you do that, you would use 35,700 Chase points to get your rental. Now, we said 37, let's round that up to 36,000 points. If you earned your Chase points at 3x, for example, pharmacy, you would need to spend $11,900 to earn enough points to move it to Aeroplan using this formula and get your rental. Now, let's say you didn't get 3x. It wasn't dining. It wasn't pharmacy. Let's just say you got 1.5x. You're Kevin Hart and you're putting everything on your Chase Freedom Unlimited. Then you would need $23,800 of spend to get there. Now, $23,000 of spend, what was the figure we gave earlier? It was $10,125 spent. So you got those two numbers put together. You're up in the $30,000 neighborhood. So like $33,000, $34,000. So remember I said no sign-up bonuses. We're running all this through normal spend. You've used about, what's 35 divided into 50? I think that's 70%. Does that sound right? You've used about 70% of your bandwidth just for staying in the cabin and renting the car. So again, we're bringing our standards down. You're not flying to Germany in first class. You're not doing high-end Hiltons. You're not staying on Lake Como. This is what you can reasonably accomplish with 1 year of spend. Another method for getting there is, let's say you had the CSR, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, and you just plain use the portal. Well, 1.5x isn't quite as good. You'd need 38,667 points, which is $12,889 of spend if at the 3x. And if you had the CSP, the Chase Sapphire Preferred at 1.25x, you'd need 46,400 points, which you'd have to spend $15,466 at 3x. So the Aeroplan is actually the most efficient and the least amount of spend you'd need to do, but you need to completely and totally buy into the whole Aeroplan thing. Let's have a little thought exercise here. Which is a better fit? Is it a better fit to get the Aeroplan and the Chase Sapphire Preferred combined, which each have an annual fee of $95 for a total of $190? Or is it better to just get the Chase Sapphire Reserve at $550? The Chase Sapphire Reserve is going to get you your $300 worth of annual travel credits, which takes that down to a net effective of $250. And then you're going to get some of those DoorDash credits and those kind of things. You're going to get slightly better insurance, but either way, you know, you've got primary car rental here, primary car rental there. Now, if you do put your rental car on the Aeroplan card, you're getting secondary. So that's something to keep in mind for your car rental insurance. Might be worth doing. Over here, you're paying a much smaller annual fee, but you can still transfer over to Aeroplan. Honestly, I think for the poor boy scenario, this is probably the better fit, the Sapphire Preferred and the Aeroplan versus just the CSR. I think 1.5 here, 1.625 here. Now, the difference is with the Aeroplan, you can only use a maximum of 200,000 Aeroplan points per year at 1.625. Over here, you've got 1.5, so it's unlimited. So if you're doing a truckload of domestic travel, or you're more of a high roller and you're going to really use those DoorDash credits, this is probably a better fit. But if you're a poor points boy, I think this is the better fit, the Aeroplan plus the Sapphire Preferred. What do you guys think? Time to catch up on comments here. Tom says, and Citi credit card bills on PayPal bill pay worth it to me for $40 a month in cash back. I used to have an electric bill that I always paid with PayPal bill pay, and they don't let me anymore. Tom says no additional bonus for the second checking account. Tom says, what RJ says about the inevitable end of the sub road is certainly a realistic possibility. At the same time, that has been said for years. Here we are chugging along a couple of decades later. Yeah, so about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, I did a video about AI, artificial intelligence, and I didn't really do it from a points and miles perspective, but you have to figure as AI comes into play more, they're going to be able to spot, churn, and burn people faster and more easily. So I think there are certainly grains of truth in today's theme, even if it's not quite so hard. Tom says the methods change, but core sub earning continues on for now. Mojo is finally here. Glad to see you, Mojo. Remember, click the thumbs up button. We've dropped down to 47 people. As we get into the math, as we get into the nerdiness, only the diehards survive. So if you're still here, kudos to you. You all get 500 Dugroz points. Thanks for being here. All right, back to the slideshow. Thought exercise done. And then remember, I said that you can put $2,000 of your family budget aside. Now that we've used the rental car, we've used our lodging, you can put $2,000 towards meals and activities. Now, my family actually did this trip back in 2022, and a lot of the things were free. Like here, we went to see a lake called Lake of the Clouds. That was free. Went to a city park. That was free. Went to a couple different waterfalls. That was free. This is a picture of the actual Vacasa cabin that we stayed in. This was like a ski lift that you rode up to the top. My wife and one of my sons was not brave enough, but myself and my other son did it. And that was, I don't know, $30 a piece, something like that, to do the lookout. Our big expense was this boat ride we took in Ashland, Wisconsin, out on Lake Superior. That was, I think it was like $70 a person. So around it was about $300 by the time taxes and fees and everything were calculated in. And then fishing from the pier cost a little bit of money because, we had to buy a fishing license and like bait. And I think we did get 2 fishing poles. And then food, of course, you have to pay for. But the nice thing is when you go to a rural outdoorsy area like this and you find little cafes, the food is less expensive. Like even adjusting for a couple years of inflation, we probably averaged, let's say, $12 per person per meal in the North Woods of Wisconsin. When we went to Washington, D.C., we probably averaged like more than double that. I'd say $27 to $30 per person per meal. It was redonkulous. So again, a compromise is if you need to be a poor boy, you can go to places where the cost of food, the cost of activities are less expensive. So those are things that you can do. John R. still here, a fly on the wall. Jake says we should call the Aeroplan and the CSP the Dugroz duo. Oh, I love that, Jake. Thank you. I'm going to tuck that away. Thanks for being a diehard. Dad on a Mission says, I love this topic. I use a supplemental point strategy that I've never heard anyone talk about. I spend about an hour a day entering free vacation contests. I've won 6 trips overall. That is a strategy. I have a mint in my mouth, which is why I sound funny, by the way, that I've never heard of. And I think it's great, including an all expense paid trip to the Super Bowl next Sunday. Wow, this coming Sunday? Not like tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. Flight, hotel, and Uber transportation is completely covered. Think about how much that will cost Super Bowl weekend. A truckload, man. you probably will use your entire $2,000 budget on meals, but still. So I'll earn a lot of points without any expense on my part. I'm also getting $5,000 to cover taxes for the Super Bowl trip. My travel for the free trips are booked by whoever is giving away the prize. I earn points off the flights and hotels. Sometimes I get to pick where I stay and who I fly with, but not always. Having high status has helped make those trips even better. Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Dad, in a mission. And I like your Blues Brothers avatar. I can't read the quote, but I'm just imagining it's probably it's 75 miles to Chicago. It's dark. We're wearing sunglasses. Let's roll. Something like that. That's not the exact quote, but that's the idea. I would be curious, Dad, on a mission. So are you saying sometimes with these contests that you've won, they will let you book your own travel on your own cards and then reimburse you? That would be icing on the cake. I'm going to have to keep that in mind. The only time I've ever won anything meaningful is more than 20 years ago. I worked for Mass Mutual and in life insurance. And, like when you apply for life insurance, sometimes you have to get like a blood test to make sure you don't have any rare diseases. One of the laboratories that did those blood tests ran a contest, like the number of people you have go to their laboratory to do a blood draw. And then you're put into a drawing for those. And I won it and won a trip to a Kansas City Chiefs game. So the one and only NFL game I've ever been into person was when Seneca Wallace was the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, and they came to Kansas City and played the Chiefs. We got a free trip to the NFL game. We got to stay in a condo like next to the Power and Light District for free within walking distance. And I don't know if Brian Jackson's still here. He went with me. His oldest daughter, who's now a mom, was like 5 at the time. Got the wrong quote. Down on a mission says, yes, Blues Brother quote, the quote is, me and my Lord, we got an understanding. All right. But yeah, that's the only time I've won a trip. Dad in a plane says, I earn points and miles off the flights and hotels. Oh, you already said that. Yep. Brian says, I was there, can confirm. And the doorman at the condo, it was like a private condominium, and they had a doorman, was Bill Cosby in generic form. It was like low quality Bill Cosby. I think this is the second time this year I've referenced Bill Cosby in a live stream. Not sure what's the deal with that. He didn't enunciate very clearly, so it was like, you guys going out for the night? But it was like, you guys it's like, what'd you say, Bill Cosby? Sorry, I got way off track. Anyway, memories. Okay, back to poor boy trips. Where were we? Okay, let's keep going here. Vacation idea number 2, the big city with Hyatt. All right, those of you who are good with landmarks and geography and those kind of things, take a look at the picture there. Which big city is that? Do 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 do. Are you still on board, Vincent? That is Chicago. So somehow you read my mind, or I read your mind. We're going to go to Chicago and we're going to stay at a Hyatt Place. So I specifically picked the Hyatt Place Chicago River North, which I think is this one right here. It's one of these anyhow. It's slightly on the north side, not too far from where the Chicago Cubs play. And the reason why I picked that one was because Source King got it right. How you doing, Source King? Haven't seen you. Thanks for being a diehard. Chicago indeed. The reason I picked that one is because this is kind of like a weird thing that I've noticed recently. Not all Hyatt Places and Hyatt Houses are still giving free breakfast. The first one I picked was a little further south, didn't have free breakfast. So I had to go into the Hyatt website and do a filter for places that had free breakfast. Why free breakfast? Well, because eating in a big city is very expensive. So free breakfast is a big deal. With my family of 4, when we travel and get free breakfast, what I try to do, and it's not always successful, is encourage the family to eat a big, hearty breakfast. Like, fill up, bros. And then for lunch, have like a lighter lunch or like a hearty snack. For example, like when we were in Washington, D.C., like we went to a place where it was like you could get a family meal that was like 4 burgers and a giant bucket of fries for $50. Not that $50 is cheap. That's still $12.50 each, but compared to, getting a pork chop or something like that, which will run you $30, it is cheap. Or maybe like a slice of Chicago style pizza or something like that, then have a larger lunch. So if you're going to do a poor boy vacation, getting free breakfast is an important hack. Vincent is still here. Seriously, when you said fly to Chicago and stay at a Hyatt Place, I'm like, how did you know? Chad Pennycuff is here. Howdy from SWA. I'm on my way to Disneyland and stopping by Denver for some Capital One and Amex lounge action. SWA. I'm not sure what SWA is. Is that one of the non-main airports in Hollywood area, like Santa Monica or something like that? David Williams says California is great for cheap vacations like this. Yeah, I just picked Chicago as an example. You could do New York City, Atlanta, LA, San Francisco, etc. Vincent says the Hyatt Place on the L that I stay at is in downtown Chicago, referred to as the Loop. I think that's the very first one I looked at, but it didn't have free breakfast, which is why I switched over to River North. Rick C says, hello, 8:33 a.m. here. I didn't know you'd be on. Ricky, I'm on almost every Saturday at this time, so you must be in the Pacific Coast time zone. So yeah, when you wake up and start eating your breakfast every Saturday morning, check out my channel. I'm almost always here. Chad says, the free internet that comes with Top Chase business cards sucks. Dad on a mission is at a Hyatt Place. Well, excuse me. Dad on a mission is at a Hyatt right now in Arizona. It's beautiful. It's a destination by, I don't know why I'm doing the whole language thing again. Slowing down, starting over. The teacher would say, Doug, slow down. I'm at a Hyatt right now in Tempe, Arizona. It's a destination by Hyatt. Had a great buffet breakfast and about to go to the ASU versus University of Arizona college basketball game. That should be a pretty epic rivalry. Are you from Arizona, Dad, on a mission, or just you like one of those teams? Ricky is guessing the Santa Ana airport. Chad met Southwest Airlines. Oh, so you're on the flight right now. Are you flying from Michigan to Southern California with a stopover in Denver, or maybe from Florida with a stopover in Denver? Ricky says, yay, morning news. Absolutely. We call it the Saturday morning live stream. And if you go back and watch the beginning, I always start with a few data points called Dugroz data points. Cesar Joel says Chicago is fun, but London House is the way. I don't know what London House is. Are you referring to a place in London, or there's a place in Chicago called London House? Maybe there's some inside joke there that I don't need to get into all that much. Anyhow, back to the presentation here. Oops. So now you know where we're staying. It's kind of small, but it says award category 4 right there. So let's take a look at the chart. And I've decided that we're going to shoot for the last week of June going into the first week of July. And there's a couple reasons for that. One of the reasons is you'll see the first 5 nights there are in kind of that light green color, and they all say off peak. It saves you 3,000 points per night. Normally, for a standard time frame, it would be 15,000 points. This is a category 4. If it's peak, it goes up to 18,000, but if it's off peak, it drops down to 12,000. I don't know why the week leading into 4th of July would be off peak, but it was, and I'm not going to argue. Now, secondly, I did put off on the side here, fewer points means fewer nights. So my big family summer vacation, I like to shoot for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. But in this scenario, it's poor boy points and miles. So we have to make compromises. A very simple compromise might be instead of staying 2 weeks, you only stay 1 week. Fewer points, fewer nights, but you can still do it. So let's do the math. Taking a look at this Hyatt Place in Chicago, June 29th through July 6th is 7 nights. And that's this is a real schedule. I looked it up on the actual calendar. The first 5 nights are at 12,000 points. So that would be 60,000 points. And the last 2 nights are at 15,000. So that's 30,000 points. You need a total of 90,000 points to accomplish what we want to accomplish. How can you earn 90,000 Hyatt points? Well, my first question was, do we bother with the Hyatt card? And I thought, no. I looked at it. You know what the earnings on the Hyatt card are? Because, we're not allowed to take into consideration sign-up bonuses. it earns 2 points per dollar on a few things and 1 point per dollar on everything else. Oh, that's terrible. But then I remembered the Hyatt card has a free night certificate. So you're basically buying a night at a Hyatt place or Hyatt house or whatever for $95. Category 1 through 4. This is a category 4, so that works. This came out to $225, $250 per night. So you're basically buying $200 in value for $95. If you're going to have a poor boy point strategy, I think the Hyatt card's a good fit. I'm not going to put any spend on it. I'm just going to use the free night certificate once per year. Let me pause for just a moment here and acknowledge that TH gave a $2 super chat. Thank you, TH. Celebrate, celebrate. Let's destroy the like button. Indeed, if you're not one of the 54 people who've clicked like, please do so now. I'm on StreamYard, so I can't see how many people have clicked like. Somebody put a comment and say how many likes have been clicked so far, please. John did the dirty work. 54 watching and only 34 likes. Come on now. Click the like button. Doesn't cost you anything at all, and it makes more people watch this later, which gets me more ad revenue, and it inspires me, and it's like a marathon runner where the crowd is cheering them on. It makes me want to just push ahead and keep going and all that. Math time. Okay, so you get the Hyatt card. You get 1 free night certificate. So now instead of needing $90,000, we're going to apply that free night at the very end of the vacation to wipe out one of these 15,000 point nights. We only need 75,000. So how are we going to earn 75,000 Hyatt points? Well, we could earn it on the Hyatt card, but that is garbage. Or we could earn on Chase and transfer it over there 1-to-1. If you can do it all at 5x, you would only need to spend $15,000 because 75,000 divided by 5 is 15,000. I suppose you could get in the habit of once per month, Staples sells prepaid MasterCards and Visas and just buy those and use that for almost everything. That would be an option. That would be hyper efficient. If you could do it at a 3x average, so let's say you're using some pharmacy stuff, you're using dining, that kind of thing, then you need to spend $25,000. That's not as efficient. What about 2.7? Now, how did I get 2.7? I'll be honest, it was late at night and I just made it up. But I'm thinking, let's say you have a Chase Freedom Unlimited. Let's say you have a Freedom Flex. Let's say you have an Ink Cash. And of course, you got your Sapphire Preferred for transferring points using Portal, whatever. You're sometimes going to be earning 3x on dining. Sometimes you're going to be earning 5x on your Freedom Flex with rotating categories. Sometimes you're going to be earning 3x on pharmacy. You know, you're going to go to the pharmacy and buy a Shell gas station gift card and use it at the Shell gas station to get a little bit better earnings, those kind of things. Maybe you go to Staples now and then, and you average all these things out. Oh, and you're Kevin Hart, and you're using your 1.5 and everything else. The occasional 5x wins will average out to 2.7. So I'm just decided, Dugroz declares 2.7 is sort of a reasonable average. So you take your 75,000 points divided by 2.7, you need to spend $27,777. So remember, we can run $50,000 of legit credit card spend through credit cards a year. You've already used over half just for this one night at Hyatt. Let's catch up on some comments here. Caesar said the London house, that's a Hilton, but not the cheapest. Sam says, I think the YouTube system missed my comment. My question was, during your travels on flights, do you get any business luxury such as extra legroom? Some people in our community do by having status. Like, let's say you do a lot of spend and a lot of travel with American Airlines. You might get status and get free upgrades to an economy plus or comfort plus seat, which is better than coach, but not as good as first class. In my case, I don't travel enough to get that kind of status, so I will just pay for the better seat. I'll pay for the upgrade to premium economy, or maybe once every other year, like when we're coming to see you over in the UK this summer, I'll just pay for business class or premium economy. Chad Pennycuff says, Hyatt Regency Orange County has killer breakfast buffet. It's free for me thanks to a guest of honor certificate from JP Knowledge. Isn't he the nicest guy ever? He gave me a guest of honor too when I went to New Orleans last September. That's awesome. Now, if you could get a guest of honor in this poor points boy thing by having, you know, a well-traveled friend, that would be even better. Dad on a Mission says, I live in Arizona and I'm doing a staycation. Lots of great options, a great time to enjoy the nice weather. Absolutely. Dad says, my wife is hosting friends from Des Moines and staying somewhere, so I'm doing the same with our kids. Interesting. Wouldn't it be funny if your friends from Des Moines was somebody that I knew personally? John R. Oh, already provided this information. Thanks, John. Back to the slideshow. All right. So we're going to book 2 queen beds with a sofa bed here because, we're a family of 4. We got to accommodate 4 people. And the member rate would be $233 per night. So we're just tucking that away, $233. Using that $95 free night certificate. It's not the best use ever, but hey, you're more than doubling your value. Worth it. So how does it compare to cash back? Well, if I was just paying cash, it would be $233 times 7 nights. That's $1,631. If I use a 3.5% average, that's $54,367 of spend. So I can't even do that because remember the rule was I can only run $50,000 a year through credit cards. So I can't accomplish what I'm accomplishing at Hyatt using this particular cashback strategy. So what I'm saying is, now you're going to get a better average with cash back because you might have like a 5% cash back card, whereas you're not going to reliably all year long get 5x cash back at gas stations with Chase. A 2.7x average with Chase put towards Hyatt beats a 3.5% average cash back setup very easily. We're talking a $54,366 spend cash back strategy versus a $27,777 with Chase strategy, which is about half, just over half. So I jumped the gun. One of the people that I think is a mind that thinks a lot like mine is Spathco, a frequent commenter on various Discords. And he said something like, because you can buy points, you always have to think about cash back versus points and which is better. But with a Hyatt strategy, Chase almost always comes out ahead. And I agree with that, with Hyatt specifically. How are we going to get there? We have to get to Chicago. So I'm just pretending that my family of 4 lives in Colorado and close enough that we can drive to the Denver airport and fly out of there. Or maybe a friend takes us or something. So on June 29th, we're going to fly from Denver to Chicago Midway. That's an option. That was the cheapest option, and that's on Frontier. For some reason, tickets weren't very cheap. I think it's because it's the weekend leading into 4th of July. $226 per person was the best price. So the cheapest, Frontier, we're going to take that 226 times 4. That's $904. If I wanted to use the Aeroplan strategy, I could use 55,631 points. That's at that 1.625. Still well under the 200,000 that you can do per year. If I had the CSR and wanted to use the portal, it would be Sorry, sometimes coughs sneak up on me. If I wanted to use the Chase Sapphire Reserve in the portal, it would be 60,266 points. So what we're saying is if we use our 2.7 average to get these plane tickets, we would have to do roughly, that's what this symbol means, roughly, somewhere between 20,000 and 22,000 of spend at our 2.7 average. So we're going back here, and we're remembering we spent $27,700 with Chase to get the Hyatt, and we're spending $22,000-ish on the flights. So 27,000 plus 22,000, if my math is correct, that's like 49,000. So remember, we can only run 50,000 per year. So let's just face it, with poor boy vacations, you're getting kind of one fairly nice domestic trip a year. That's about it. Unfortunately, that's what you can do reasonably. Now let's take a look at a different tack here. Instead of using the portal through Chase or the Aeroplan card, we could go with the American Airlines trick. So at least for now, you can transfer your points from Amex to Hawaiian over to Alaska, and use Alaska to book relatively inexpensive American flights. So I did find one in economy on the day we want to fly. It's 7.5 thousand miles, so 7,500. That's one way. So this option, we got to take American via last 7,500 times 4, because there's 4 people in your family, and you have to get home. So we're doubling that. So we're talking 60,000 points. This is a worse option than any of the Chase cards, unless you're exclusively using the Amex Gold or the Business Gold. So remember, with the Chase options, I had to rack up somewhere between 55,000 and 60,000 points. So it's about the same or slightly less. But I feel with ordinary spending, we're not talking 5x on flights. We're talking gas, groceries, dining, pharmacy, everything else. I feel like Chase is a better ecosystem than Amex for a lot of that. Yes, you can get your Blue Business Plus and get your 2x, but the only way you come out better with Amex is if you get either the Gold or the Business Gold and you have 4x spending, because then you would only need 15,000 to spend at 4x plus a wee bit more in taxes and fees. But Chase comes out slightly ahead with that, unless you're doing the 4x, because I don't think you're going to average 2.7 with Amex. I mean, how are you going to do that? You don't have as many options, unless you're like John R. down in Kansas City and you can do all of your grocery shopping at a Walmart neighborhood market at 4x. So for some people, Amex would be a better way to get there and use those American flights. I think for most people, probably 2/3 to 3/4, you're going to be better off either using the Aeroplan trick or the Chase portal. Now, here's another disadvantage with poor boy points. I said, but settling for this room. Take a look at this picture. What do you notice, class? What do we notice about this? So you're spending 7 days with your wife and 2 kids in this room. That doesn't sound very appealing. And honestly, before Points and Miles, that's what we did. But we've gotten kind of spoiled. I don't love having my 2 teenage boys, 3 feet away from me on the other side of the end table, and you're just kind of cooped up in here for an entire week. I like having like a cottage or a cabin or connecting rooms with Hilton or something like that. This just feels very cooped up for an entire week. But with poor boy points, you got to compromise. Maybe one of those compromises, you have to share a room with your kids for an entire week. Dad on a Mission says, my wife is originally from Urbandale, small world, so you might. I'm not originally from the Des Moines area. I'm originally from Ottumwa, but who knows? There might be friend of a friend going on. John loves his gold card. Sam K says, much like an engine, this wonderful channel runs on likes. The more likes, the further this wonderful channel travels. Thanks, Sam. I appreciate your diligence and patronage. John R says, no privacy. That's right. And I want to have some degree of privacy when traveling with my family. I'm really glad we still have 59 people on board, though. Thank you for being here. Next slide, please. Oh, that's it. There are no more slides. So, like I said, late last night is when I came up with all of this. And by the time I got the 2 poor boy trips in, I was going to do a road trip like with Choice, or maybe just a total free agent using the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey, and see how that broke out. But I got too tired and ran out of time. So what are some poor boy Points and Miles tricks that you have in mind? If you can't rely on the Ink Train or other juicy subs, how might you travel with Points and Miles with a modest budget of, say, only $2,000? And I didn't specifically list it, but again, for the flights and the lodging, you're using all points in this scenario. And then you're taking your $2,000 of family budget for things like meals, going to the museum, riding public transportation, taking Ubers, those kinds of things. A U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve might be a good fit in here for Ubers and those kinds of things. Unfortunately, that's closed to new applicants, so you can't get any more. So you could name some poor boy tips and tricks. You could name poor boy trips that you've done with Points and Miles, not pure cash, although cash can be a part of it. And you can also say, what credit card do you think is best for a poor boy strategy? Or what combination of 2 or 3 cards? I think Chase is probably pretty good. We can assume you can get your strategy set up. It's just that, you can't. So we can pretend you already have a Sapphire Reserve. We can pretend you already have an Amex Gold. We can pretend you already have an Autograph Journey. You just can't take the sub into consideration. That brings the theme of the day to the end. I'm going to step out. I'm going to use the bathroom. We call this the biology break, also known as intermission. For those of you who are new here, you're going to hear some hold music for about 2 minutes. If you get an advertisement, please just watch it because I'm going to be gone for about 90 seconds to 2 minutes anyway, and that helps out the channel. When we come back, I will answer the questions from the community tab that I posted yesterday. So hopefully you'll get to see your questions on there. In the meantime, drop questions and see if you can come up with the most obscure or highly specific credit card for poor boy points and miles. Let me get some media going here with some music to listen to. How about Golden Sunset? Here we go. Oh, that was a theme. We'll try Dance Pop. I'm going to blow my nose off screen here. Today's episode is brought to you by Aquaphor. If you live in a cold weather state like Iowa, Aquaphor is a lifesaver in the winter. Put it on chapped lips, nostrils, or any other orifice as applicable. Okay, I'm not really sponsored by Aquaphor, but I should be. I don't like this background. Let's switch to something else. I didn't even know I could choose a background. I guess plain blue is fine. Might hear the biology stream sound effects if there's a Bluetooth microphone. There's not. I've got my Gato microphone, which is a hardwired microphone here. We're okay, Sam. All right. So every Friday, I post a community tab on my Facebook page. Brian says, Aqua 4. Better than Aqua 3, not quite as good as Aqua 5. Contact me, Aqua 4, if you want to do a sponsorship deal. I do a community tab, and on that tab, there are two purposes. Purpose number one is for you to list a question, and then I will answer the question, anything in the world of points, miles, cash back. And if it's slightly off topic, that's okay. And the other thing is I will post a picture, and then you guess where the picture was taken, and you get the joy of knowing you did it right if you get it right. There's no physical prize, but you do get Dugroz points. This is today's picture right there. I'll show the whole thing. That's it. That's me standing by some sort of thing back in 2021, I believe. So you can guess where that picture was taken. And if you haven't done so, you can still put a guess over here on the side, although at least one person did guess it correctly. So I'm going to pull that up on my phone now. Now, I apologize. Every once in a while, I'll get somebody who asks a community tab question, and they do it like last second, so I don't see it until it's too late, and I apologize if that's the case. In order, Ron Byrne says, I'm going with a geographic marker, maybe a corner where states meet or the geographic center of a state. And I said, you are correct. You just need to get more specific. RemGB says, this is the Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota tri-point marker, signifying the spot where the border of these three states meet. Full disclosure, I got it on Google Circle using a feature on my Pixel phone. So yes, that's correct. I know you're all super excited. This is the tri-point where Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota meet. You might think, like from our previous slide, that Minnesota and Iowa are directly on top of each other, but there's actually like a slight inset here where South Dakota comes into play. So it is just a tri-point. It's not in the middle of the river. That's the Sioux River, I believe. Or is it the Red River? I can't remember. That's an actual just a cornfield out there in space. And by space, I don't mean outer space. I just mean like, a nice spacious area. Okay, where were we? So good job. RemGB guessed it correctly. RemGB also asked this. My player 1 to player 2 ink train came to a crashing halt. I also hate Amex and rarely use their cards, so I'm in pop-up jail. Hate leads to anger. Anger leads to fear. Fear leads to hatred, which leads to the dark side. Decided to close all of my Amex business cards after a year. Once I got the Smartly US Bank card, I thought I would go all in on US Bank. I applied for and got approved for 2 US Bank triple cash business cards a month apart. These have a nice $750 sub after $6,000 of spend in 6 months. Once you're on the good side of US Bank, they're very generous. My first US Bank card only had a $500 limit. Plus, I can get $100 subscriptions annually with this free card. Wanted to share this data point for all of the US Bank diehards like you and Stan. Had been heavily on Chase and Amex the last couple years. This year, I will try to do Wells Fargo Business Cards Player 2. What do you think? Any suggestions? Keep up the great work. I think in general, that's pretty good. Do I still have the music going, Thomas? But Thomas drops a $2 super chat. Celebrate. I'm hoping you're watching a little behind schedule, but anybody that is watching live, if I say the word live right now and you heard me say that, tell me if the music is still going or if the music is in fact turned off, because I don't want to accidentally still be playing music. Back to the question from RemGB. Okay, general thoughts. First of all, you're right about once you kind of get into a relationship with US Bank, they treat you well. That is absolutely true. I think because my parents bank with US Bank and I'm an authorized signatory on their checking account, that they're pretty nice to me. I'm actually been looking for a 0% interest credit card to spread out some larger purchases in the near future. And I've kind of not burned my bridges, but kind of used up my Chase. I've used up my Wells Fargo. I've used up my Amex. So I might turn to US Bank again and say, please, US Bank, remember how I had that checking account in Ottumwa back in the 80s where my dad would come and deposit $20 every Saturday and we'd get a coupon for a free McDonald's hamburger and pay the additional 10 cents to upgrade to a cheeseburger? Remember our relationship from years ago? And they'll say, okay, we'll give you the third or fourth business card. That's fine, with a nice juicy credit limit. I'm hoping that's how they treat me, at least. So yeah, I think that is good. I think you can do a lot with US Bank. I don't like, some people seem to have success with how their login works, where it segregates, it does not segregate personal and business cards, but for some reason I can't get it to work, and it always segregates personal and business cards. I don't know that I'd say I'm a US Bank diehard, but I'm okay with it. If I shocked the world just a little bit and said, I'm starting to question ever so slightly the worth itness of the US Bank Altitude Reserve, would that cause a lot of people to go crazy? Not that it's bad, it's just that it's very difficult to earn lots of points on the card for a regular Joe like myself. Now, if I had a business where I'm out buying supplies at a restaurant regularly, that would be different. Or, if I ran an in-home daycare and had to go to Costco and buy 100 hot dogs every week, that might be different. Cesar says the audio is good, and Brian says the rave is over. Okay, we're good. Brian also asks, in relation to the picture, which state am I standing in? So I believe this picture is facing north, so I would be in South Dakota. Whichever one of my boys took the picture is in Iowa, and it comes down as a straight line, roughly mirroring this road. So Minnesota, let me get the screenshot. Over here is Minnesota. Over here is South Dakota, and I think technically I'm standing in South Dakota. And then like a line like this, the foreground is Iowa. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Don't quote me on that. So I think you got a good strategy there going RemGB. Don't give up on Amex completely, because if they let you back in with a big juicy sub, then it's still worth it. Catching up on comments just a little bit here. Andrew Beach is on board. How you doing, Andrew? Says, hi, everybody. Sipping coffee and listening to the Dugroz. Sam says, YouTube has a feature where you do a certain gesture to the camera, a on-screen gestures show. I don't know what that means. Like if I do thumbs up, does a thumbs up appear? If I do a karate chop, does a karate guy appear? If I wave, does a wave icon appear? I don't know how to use that feature. Live from PDX. You have to remind me again once more time what PDX means. Is your other username PDX Miles or something like that? All right. Next question here. Ian K asked this question. What is your family's current 524 status? Any cards on your roadmap this year? I'll pause there and come back to the second half of his question here. I actually keep track of that in a spreadsheet, so I know really well. I'm at 624 right now and will fall under 524 in May. No. Actually, I just fell from 624 down to 524 on January 31st. So I'm now 524. So I've got to make it till late May or early June. I got the Aeroplan MasterCard 2 years ago in May, and then I'll be under 524. My wife is at 324 right now, and none of those fall off until 2 years from August. So those are all more recent. What's my family's roadmap? So my original roadmap, and I'm still thinking this over, I'll take any advice on the subject, was heading down the path to getting a Ritz-Carlton card. So when I get under 524, I would apply for, well, first I would probably take one last Hail Mary for an ink card. Doubt I would get it, but I'll try. And then whether or not I get that, I would probably then go for a personal Bonvoy card, maybe the Boundless or the Bold or whatever, hold it for a year, then upgrade to the Ritz-Carlton. Thinking about maybe trading that out for my CSR. I think it's actually slightly better for the way I do things, but don't hold me to that. I might change my mind. Beyond that, we'll see if they are willing to give me subs. Now, I've thought about picking up the Hyatt card. Like we talked about earlier today, I would probably only use it for the FNC. I would have to do some thinking. I don't really have any UR earning cards that are still on the radar. My wife might do something like the Wells Fargo Reflect card. maybe in a month or two, which is the like 18-month no interest card. Keep it for a year, put a couple of our larger purchases on it to spread it out, earn interest on the money we save. And then like a year from now, product change that over to a tune to get 4X on Amazon and some other stuff like that. Pet supply stores, hair salons, etc. Ian goes on to say, personally, I think I'll product change a Citi AA card to a custom cash and apply for either a new Wells Fargo or Citi card that hasn't been announced yet. I think that's a perfectly cromulent strategy. I'm not high on Citi right now, so I'm not going to push into a Citi strategy, but obviously, it can still work for a lot of people, double cashes and whatnot, custom cashes and whatnot. If Wells Fargo and or Citi comes out with their new premium card, no matter what, I mean, unless we're just completely shocked, it's always going to be worth it in year one. And he also says, besides that, maybe one or two business cards, this is a small bonus. I'm going to try and take it slow and do a little 524 reset. I'm going to go kind of slow too. I'm not saying I'm going to make my goal to always stay under 524, but I did blow it back in 2023 where I got 3 cards that weren't that great back to back to back. So I'm going to slow down a little and try to stay in that 5 to 724 neighborhood. Let's see. PDX is Portland. Thanks, John. RemGB says the triple crash, but I know what you mean. Business card has 0% for 12 months on top of the sign-up bonus $750 plus $100 subscription credit or for a free card. Yeah, that's like the Adobe credit. I'm using that with my State Farm business right now. I got one for the LLC and one for the sole prop, 1 month apart, like Chase. I've already had the triple cash rewards I think I canceled it about a year ago. And I don't have an LLC or anything else other than a sole prop. So do you think they would let me get another one? The pilot coming out in me. Are you an actual pilot, John? Or are you just like playing video games about that kind of stuff? Sam says, they used to plaster Mexico advertisement just as you read out the comment. Oh, sorry about that. Chad Pennycuff says, you don't know what that's all about. Thomas says, I'd like to cycle my IHG personal card. Any tips or rules to keep in mind? I don't know, Thomas. I'm sorry. In my brain, I'm thinking they have like you have to wait 24 months since your last bonus, but I might be conflating that with something else. Anybody else know? By the way, this black thing I'm holding is it's like a beanbag thing for your wrist, like good ergonomics. I put it down with my mouse. My business gold card, I need to go to Staples and use it today because this is the first day of the new month, and I'm gonna cancel or downgrade it soon. So I want to get that credit in. But last month I bought like an actual item I needed, had like $8 left over. So I bought this little, I don't know if you can hear it when it scooshes. You can tell there's beanbags inside. Put my wrist on it for good ergonomics. I actually kind of like it. Cesar says, Marriott is difficult to get good value, at least in my case, and the reason I never considered the Ritz card. I kind of am with you, and I'm not saying I'm going to change from Hilton to Marriott by any means. I'm still a Hilton guy, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying all I have to do is get good value once a year and then use those travel incidental credits, and I think I'm doing a little better than my CSR. As much as I like the option of using 1.5 in the portal, I think in the last 2 years I've used it once, and it was flying back from New Orleans. Chad says, Dugroz, shake my head. U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve blasphemy. Say it ain't so. Thou shalt not place any cards above thine U.S. Bank Altitude Reserves. I just said I'm thinking about it. Like right now I've got like 19,000 U.S. Bank points, which would get me what? In the neighborhood of $350 in travel. Is that right? Let's round that up to 20,000. 20 times 1.5 would be, around $300 in travel, which is like one car rental a year. Cesar says, I value most hotel points above Marriott. That is completely fair. John R. said, I knew Chad was going to comment about the Altitude Reserve. Tom says, the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve is really good for buying groups / Costco, other Apple Pay retailers this past year. Good to hear it. John is a private pilot. Okay, John, when are you going to fly to the Des Moines airport and pick me up? Jose Marzan Jr. says, probably going to drop the Marriott business card, $125 for a 35K cert. Meh. By the way, good to see you, Jose. I don't think we've met before. Glad to have you on board. I have this live stream going almost every Saturday, so feel free to stop by in the future. I'm really glad to have you. I like your art supplies there on your avatar. And I agree with you. $125 for 35 cert is meh. You can overdo it with certs. I actually prefer cards that just give you points, like the Wyndham card just gives you 15,000 points a year. I'd rather have that because I don't have to worry about it expiring. Now, I do like Hilton's uncapped cert, certainly. Certainly. See what I did there? All right. This next question is from Jared Holbrook, who says March 1st begins AAA status. Oops, I said that wrong. AA status, like American Airlines, which has me thinking, would you consider spending on an American Airlines card and an American Airlines portal starting March 1st in order to attain some kind of American Airlines status, since we have, number one, the ability to get tons of Alaska miles right now via Amex to book American Airlines, and to a much lesser degree, number two, potential city transfers to AA one day. I don't know if there's something there or just the appearance of an opportunity. For some people, Jared, I think that could be really good. But for me, nah, bro, I'm just not interested. I'm not really interested in pursuing status with any airline. And here's why. I live in a small market airport, Des Moines, Iowa, and I'm only flying 3 to 5 times a year. Although if some of these devaluations and such go through, it might be more like 2 to 3 times a year. I'm not interested in status unless it's going to get me a for sure thing. I don't want the possibility of the upgrade. I want an upgrade, because if I'm only doing it 3 times a year, let's say I've got a 20% chance of getting an upgrade. What if I only fly 3 times and I don't get any of them? All that effort out the window for nothing. As far as portals and earning stuff, I'd rather do like the Chase portal or just a plain old cash back like Rakuten, something like that. And then thirdly, I'm not always going to be flying American, and I can't schedule my flights around American because, again, I live in a small market airport. You got to take what you can get. So sometimes it might be Delta, sometimes it might be American, it might be Allegiant, it might be Southwest, it might be United. So for me, just pursuing any airline status is just not an opportunity worth doing. Now, let's say you lived in Dallas and you fly 10 times a year. That's very different. But thank you for the question. Ron Burns says, how many states have you visited? Well, it depends. Are we talking states that I've visited since I got into points and miles, or states that I've visited, period? I don't know. I've never done a count, but if I were just to guess, like in my whole life, it's definitely more than half. I would say 30 to 35, most likely. When I was a kid, my family would do quite a few road trips. So I took like a Great Western trip. You know, I've been to California, Arizona, swung through New Mexico, Nevada, Utah. East, you know, we drove. I've been to New England a few times. I've been to Massachusetts once. I've never been to Maine, Vermont, or New Hampshire. And I'm hoping to check those off my list this coming April. We'll find out. I'm going to catch up on some personal questions here. John R. says, I need to fly to Des Moines and get some Class C airspace practice. I don't know what that means, but I'm up for it. Chris Sevi says, I'm surprised the Hilton Surpass did not make an appearance in the conversation of no sub travel. 15,000 free night certificate. It's just because I ran out of time, Chris. You're right. I probably would have done some sort of Hilton stay. In real life, I'm all about Hiltons. In fact, my plan right now, and this might change, for this summer is we're going to fly out of New York City with a repositioning flight. I'm going to stay at a Hilton. We're going to go to Glasgow, Scotland. I'm going to stay in a Hilton. Then we're going to go to a Vacasa cabin. And then on the back end, when we end up in continental Europe, I'm going to stay at a Hilton. So I like Hiltons. Vincent says, the Ritz card is great even if you're a hotel free agent. $300 airline credit, Sapphire lounge access, CSR's travel protections, and unlimited free authorized user. You don't even have to touch Marriott benefits. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you for saying it, Vincent. You said it better than I could. RemGB, why don't you register for an employee ID number for your YouTube business? Use it to apply for a new card. Reddit has lots of posts on folks getting multiples of these cards. They pull TransUnion, which has 0 other inquiries. I've had a few TransUnion inquiries, but I'm not sure about that one. That's a good point, RemG. I probably should get around to doing that. I'll make that a goal by the end of this year. A low-level goal, but a goal nonetheless. Chad Pennycuff says, John, he needs to repent. Seriously awesome cheap travel card, so much bang for your buck. Again, the math is there. The math is supported. Not trying to put it down. Just I do less than $10,000 a year of in-person tap-to-pay spending. That's all I'm saying. Dad on a mission. I will be trying out the Hyatt AA Gold status a day next Friday, and I'll report back if it was worth it. Frequent Miler says it's not a good value, but I want to see for myself. Oh, this is like with Hyatt, you can choose one of your like milestone or whatever they call them things as Hyatt Gold status for a day. So if you know you're flying on February 15th, for example, you can say, I want AA Gold status on that day, and then use it that day. Yeah, let us know how it goes, Dad. Jose says, Mrs. and I are sitting on 2 Hilton free night certificates. And also says, thinking of a staycation or drive to the Keys. Talking about the Florida Keys. Key Largo, Montego. Baby, why don't we go down to Kokomo? We'll get there fast, and then we'll take it slow. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. All right. QC Man, Quality Control Man asks, how would you rank the 4 seasons from your favorite to least favorite? Now, do you mean Frankie Valli and the 4 Seasons, the pop music group from the 1960s and 70s? Or do you mean the actual 4 seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter? I'm going to go out on a limb and assume it's the latter. So, shooting from the hip here. Favorite season would be fall. I think it's great for travel and rip trips and those kind of things because it's off season, but you've got the weather like warm enough you don't need a jacket, but cool enough that you're not like sweaty. Number 2 would be spring for the exact same reason. And then I would probably put summer third and winter last, which is weird because when I was a kid, I loved winter, but now it's just a massive inconvenience. So fall, spring, summer, winter in order of best to worst. Thank you. Jacob Hess asked this question. Although you follow the strategy of all travel expenses must be paid by points and miles or cash back, do you still mentally set a budget for your travels? For example, if you were to get 1 million Chase points tomorrow, would you use them for your upcoming trips, save them, or cash some in at 1 cent per point, or maybe 1.25 via pay yourself back? That's a great question, Jacob. And what I'm going to assume you mean is this, like, even though points and miles has to pay for it myself, I don't supplement with my family budget at all. When I think about a trip, do I set like a points budget? Like when we're going to Europe this summer, do I say can't go over 500,000 points or anything like that? No, I do not. I just right now, I throw caution to the wind and go for it. I had said, and this might come back to bite me, that as of right now, functionally, I will never run out of points because the rate at which I'm accruing points is faster than the rate at which I'm spending them. And that's because I have a limiting factor of time rather than earning. I don't have unlimited time off work. I only get 6 weeks of unlimited time off per year. But we don't have like separate sick pay and PTO. So like I've already been sick 5 days this year. So there goes one of my 6 weeks. And then if I do something with the family at Christmas, there goes one of my weeks. So realistically, I've only got about 2 to 3 weeks per year of discretionary travel. So I can't use them that fast. So no, I don't set a budget. I just do what I want to do and go for it. Now, the frugal side of me still won't let me get bad value or like totally blow my points. So like when I do rip trips, you'll see me staying at like Holiday Inn Expresses and things like that. And I'm totally cool with that. It's like, it feels fine. So I have enough cheapness in me that it's really not been an issue so far. Now, I will say the whole thing about like, I will never functionally run out of points. I don't think that's the case any longer. It's more of a, will I run out in 2 years? Will I run out in 3 years? Will I run out in 5 years? Obviously, based on today's topic, I think there will come a point. I just don't know what that point is. Thank you for asking, though. Dad on a Mission says you can redeem points for status on AA. Oh, okay. Hyatt points. Sorry for the misunderstanding. Chad responds to Cesar. Rich with points did a spend analysis, Hilton versus Amex setup, and Chase and Hyatt. It was really close. You're getting me closer to Team Hilton. That's a good analysis. Chris Sevi says, would a cashback setup be more efficient if targeting travel deals like Groupon or Scott's cheap flights / going? I don't know what going is. I'm sorry. I'm always a little skeptical of that because I don't have as much flexibility as I would like. My target is to do 2 solo trips a year, once in the spring, once in the fall. And there's only about a 2 to 3 week window I can make that work. Same thing with like summer vacation with my family. There's only a window of opportunity where I can make that work. And most of the travel deals are like, you need to be available to travel the 3rd week in February. So I don't know that would work out well for me. But if you're someone who is more flexible, that would work out. So I would say, yeah, if that suits you, by all means, go for it. A cashback strategy probably would be better. I think of someone like, let's just say hypothetically you're a single guy or gal and you drive Uber for a living and you make enough money that you only need to work 10 months out of the year. So it doesn't really matter which 2 months you take off. For that person, I think a cashback heavy strategy targeting last minute deals, epic deals, error bookings, weird random fares like, hey, if you fly from Cedar Rapids, Iowa to Portugal on this one specific weekend in early May, you can do it for 20,000 points in business class. I think for that person, that would be a great strategy. And then as Spaithco let us know, you can buy points oftentimes and fit it in there. For some reason, Cesar thinks Hilton's a really good program. I'm surprised. Combines a bunch of good benefits with the ability to earn. I will come back and say it again. The guaranteed connecting rooms is a massively underrated feature. And remember earlier when I said, since I only travel occasionally, I want to make sure if I have status, I am definitely getting the benefits. Hilton is the best for that. So if I have gold status, because all I have to do is pick up the Surpass, I am always getting free or discounted breakfast of some kind. It's not well, I might get it, I might not, I might get an upgrade. I might not get the room upgrade, but I'm getting my breakfast. At the phase in life we're in, that's important right now. IHG is a good option too. If IHG would just implement 2 things, if they would implement guaranteed connecting rooms, I'm going to say 3 things. Some sort of locked in breakfast benefit for the platinum level, not the highest level, but the second highest level, who's platinum, their equivalent of Hilton Gold. And then 3, if instead of transferring from Chase 1-to-1, if it transferred 1 to either 1.5 or 1-to-2, IHG would pass Hilton and become my number 1 program. Cesar agrees that guaranteed connecting rooms for family travel is just great. And Chad Pennycuff says, I did $49K last year, tap to pay, property taxes plus discount Disney gift cards. Sure blows away my 9 to 10,000. All right, we've got a few more questions and we are approaching the 2-hour mark, so I got to move through this. Sleepy Rod asks a question. Sleepy Rod, if you're on board, say hi. Sleepy Rod says, what's your next move if the Chase Ink train is truly derailed? I hadn't put a lot of thought into that, but again, shooting from the hip, it would probably be a combination of a couple things. So I've got Filmo's favorite card, the Golden Ponies card from Wells Fargo, and that I can book flights in the Wells Fargo portal at 1.5. I would probably lean into a pretty heavy Wells Fargo strategy for my everyday spend. I would get like 2x on the Aspire. I would get 3x on various things, the Autograph. Like I said, a year down the road, my wife might have the Attune. I'll get 4x with some random stuff there. I can transfer 1-to-2 to Choice. I can get 1.5 in the portal and all that for no annual fee. Or I could upgrade to the Autograph Journey and get it for a $99-ish annual fee. So that is something I would probably lean into if the Ink train derails. I would still do a lot of my regular spending through Chase and stick with the Aeroplan trip. But I think something I'm going to be doing in the near future, whether or not the Ink train derails, is focusing more to a cashback for family budgeted things strategy. So this summer, we're going to go back to Europe, England and Germany. And then going into the following school year, so the school year that starts this coming August, September, my boys will be juniors in college. And by the time you're juniors, you start looking at college and that kind of, I said at college, they're going to be juniors in high school. So they're going to be looking at college. I'm guessing the subsequent summer, we're probably not going to be doing a big time international trip because they're going to be doing college tours. They're going to have part-time jobs. It's just going to be too hard. So I'm probably going to move to an MSU multiple small unit strategy That's a throwback to Warhammer, if any of you know what that means. But multiple small vacations. So instead of doing like a big 2-week vacation, we might take a couple weekend getaways, maybe one to Florida, maybe one to Omaha to go to the zoo or something like that. So I'm probably going to shift to like a mini small vacation strategy, MSV. And then I'm going to supplement my family budget with cash back because life's going to get expensive. So I'm going to actually not do cash for travel, but just try to like save for retirement and that kind of stuff, pay off some expenses, up my IRA. Our deck is falling apart. Got to get new cars at some point. Got to get new siding on the house. So I think I'm going to become kind of like RJ from RJ Financial and just try to get as much cash back as possible. Probably like, my boys' junior, senior year of high school, maybe then I'll switch back when we're empty nesters and head back heavily into points and miles. That's not a full switch, just kind of a point of emphasis. Cesar Joel asked this question. Taking into consideration your recent experience, what's the best airline program to transfer points to visit Europe with a family of 3 to 5 people? Keep up the great work, mi hermano. That's a difficult question to answer, and I don't know that there is a best. If you'd asked me about a year ago, I probably would have said Flying Blue, Air France, and KLM. But I did that recent video called Flying Blue Seats Few. Not only have they devalued flights to Europe by around 15 to 20%, they just don't have much availability, at least during the summer. So I don't know that that's really reliable anymore. Avianca has too much questionableness and the points expire. Avios, maybe, depending what you can land. Definitely not the domestic airlines. Aeroplan, the problem with Aeroplan is they're great with partners, but if you're booking Aeroplan Metal with Aeroplan points, they almost never release more than 2 seats. So honestly, I wouldn't promote any given airline. I'm just going to look for those unique one-off opportunities, not do any speculative transferring, and just hope I can find a good opportunity 6 to 12 months out. Sean D has arrived, a diehard. Good morning, Dugroz. Late to the party, but at least I made it. Absolutely. Better late than never. And in response to Cesar's comment, Ron Burns said, I have a family of 5 and have a trip to Europe later this year. It depends if you have more points or more cash. I like that Flying Blue always give discounts for kids, but their taxes and fees are high. I snagged a good deal from the U.S. to Europe on Virgin recently when their reward system changed. That's another one you got to put in the mix. Virgin, although not reliably. I think it depends on what you value more, lower points values or lower taxes and fees. I'm helping a coworker find a flight for his daughter to Europe. It is amazing the spread of points, cash, and fees from different airlines for the same flight. Absolutely. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. Ian K guessed I was at the Flight 93 Memorial. Nope. On the picture of the week. And that's it. That's everyone who posted a question on the community tab. As of when this live stream started, if you put one in after that, I apologize. I didn't get to see it. And Cesar says, thanks for taking my question, mi hermano. You're sure welcome. All right. He also says, looking at Virgin, although I have 200,000 miles with Air France, I also have like 190,000 miles trapped at Flying Blue. So I'm not sure how I'm going to use those. I am strongly considering, this could be a whole nother video, but I'll just mention it, with my trip to Europe this summer, kind of giving up on the idea of going to the Austria, Switzerland homeland area, and instead ending our trip around like Belgium and the Netherlands. You can take a flight on Flying Blue that flies into Amsterdam and then rides a train down to Belgium, Antwerp, Belgium in our case, but it also goes on to Brussels. So I thought that'd be kind of fun to book a plane ticket that's actually a plane ride, maybe do that. So just something I'm thinking about, a way to use up those Air France and KLM Flying Blue miles. I'm going to go ahead and read off those who dropped super chats here, and we're going to be done in about 3 minutes. Tom Graber got us started with $5. Xavier brought it on with $9.99. John, $2. TH, $2. Thomas, $2. So thank you to each one of you who gave money toward the channel. Like I said, anything you give goes towards a combination of this YouTube channel, either equipment, travel I wouldn't normally be able to take, And then about 20% goes towards just keeping the family happy and saying that this business helps support my family, which it really does. Thank you. So with that in mind, last chance to drop a super chat or a super sticker if you want. I do appreciate each and every one of you. You'll notice people like Sean, who has the squiggly symbol to the right of their name, is a Dugroz diehard. That's a channel member. You can join for only $3 a month and you get access to members only videos. That's another very consistent and great way to support the channel. Chad says, cheers to Filmo today. He's at Walt Disney World and I'm flying to Disneyland. Always my luck. Yeah, Filmo was on here for like the first 5 minutes of the live stream and said that's what he was doing. Sam says, thanks for the fantastic stream today. Please click thumbs up on your way out the door, everyone. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching.